Today I'm going to be teaching you how to reverse engineer malware and viruses that you're being sent. So if you got sent an EXE file that you don't trust, for example, you can actually look at its original source code, which shouldn't be available to you, but in this video I'll show you how. But first, let me tell you about my story and how I got into this. So a few months ago in my Discord server, some guy sent a batch file and he said something like, oh, this is my latest tool for, whatever. Because these kids always try to say that it's like a Roblox executor or the new image logger, one-click image logger. Real, 100% real. But little did this guy know that his cheeks were about to be clapped. So, introducing the protagonist, Moom825. You might know him as the guy who made Discord Rat 2.0. Basically what he did, he got the code of this guy's batch file and it was a multi-staged malware. So basically the batch file calls like a VBS file, that VBS file calls like some EXE, that EXE gets downloaded like in the background. It's like a bunch of basically steps to confuse the antivirus so it doesn't get flagged as malicious. So he traced back all these steps, eventually got the EXE binary that was supposed to be hidden. He used the method that I'm going to talk about in this video to get its code. And inside of the code, because it was a rat, he got the IP of the guy who actually sent it in the chat. He literally decompiled this guy's rat in front of the whole server. He literally just sent screenshots. Okay, well, this leads to this leads to this, here's your IP, boom. So yeah, after seeing that, I thought that was pretty cool how you can just, take some file, trace back the steps and basically expose the attacker or find out some information. So in this video, I'm going to show you like a really easy way, kind of an introduction to malware reverse engineering. Now this goes really deep. People literally are like professionals at this and they get hired by like big companies, get paid tons of money. Malware nowadays is everywhere, especially if you're in my Discord server. And getting good at reverse engineering is like a really good skill to have. So anyway, let's get into it. So the tool that I'm going to be showing you today is called DNSpy. You can just look up DNSpy and the GitHub page will pop up. So anyway, unless you want to spend your time compiling all of this, I would just go to the releases tab and download the DNSpy net Win64. After you extract it, you should have a shortcut on your desktop now, DNSpy. And I'm going to be testing it out with this tokenlogger.exe because that's what this kid's like, token loggers. So we're going to open DNSpy. You might notice that this actually looks a lot like Visual Studio with like all this stuff here and like the debugging. So anyway, all you do, you take your exe right here, tokenlogger.exe. Someone on my Discord server sent me this, so before I run it, I might as well check it out. So we drag it over and instantly we see all this stuff pop up. This is just the assembly information, basically everything that's over here. So now we want to click on this arrow right here, tokenlogger.exe, and you're going to see a few things. So this is just the PE header. You don't really need any of this stuff. .text is where the executable code is actually stored. This just gives you information about that. .resources, for resources like icons, images, sounds, stuff like that. Anyway, so the references aren't really important. This is just, stuff that it calls. And then you'll see all the namespaces. So for me, the namespace is Discord token grabber. That's the only one. We're going to click on this arrow and we see two classes pop up. We see the program and the token grabber. So in C# programs, the program class is actually where it starts running. So we're going to click on here and right away we see the program class. So this is the actual C# code, which is pretty crazy. So in the main function, which always runs first inside of a C# program, we see a string variable is defined URL. And this is pretty obviously a Discord webhook. So this is looking like some sort of grabber or logger to me. Might have to ban that guy. And we see that it creates an object of token grabber passing on the URL variable. So we're going to head over to that. And damn, this guy was really trying to fuck me up. Look at all this. If you open up the classes, you'll see all the different functions. So token grabber, yeah, this accepts the URL variable, whatever. So yeah, it has the URL, token grabber.get tokens. Okay, it calls that function. Get tokens is right here. And if you don't recognize this, you're obviously not an elite pro hacker. This is what skids use to get your Discord token. So basically it adds all of these different folder locations to the list. And then over here we see calls find tokens. So we're going to go to find tokens. Okay, so this is where it actually finds the token. They go into the local storage folder, then level DB, and then they look through all the .lbd files and they use regex to find like the format of the Discord token and basically add them all to the list. Yeah, this is the Discord token format. It's 24 characters and if I remember correctly, it's like your user ID in base 64 and then .6 random characters, then .27 random characters. After it does that, then it calls the send tokens function. So if we go to send tokens, yeah, so this is pretty simple. So it gets the content, which is just your Discord tokens, and then creates a web client object and uploads your Discord tokens to the webhook URL. So yeah, we broke down this entire EXE, literally looked at the entire code. And you can do this with any program written in C# or Visual Basic. But just a disclaimer, if they were smart, they actually wouldn't just, leave their code like this when they compile it. Sometimes they do a little something called obfuscation. So over here, we can obviously see what's going on. Like the function name is literally get tokens, and they're not trying to hide anything. But if they have at least a little bit of skill, what they'll do is use an obfuscator or obfuscate it themselves. And that basically means just like mix around the code, create like unnecessary functions, change the variable names, function names, so you have no clue what's going on. And even though you can see the source code, it's hard to understand what's going on. But yeah, this is a really useful tool, and some guy actually used this on me. So this is actually pretty funny. So let me see, session exploit. So whatever, this is like a thing I made a video on it, so you can go check that out. It's pretty cool. And before I wrote this thing here, like you can look at the source with dnspy, because, you know, I was too lazy to upload the entire thing, so I just uploaded the EXE, and so people, you know, can trust the source code. But before I wrote this down, some guy actually did it by himself and uploaded the source. So up here in pull requests, source upload, let me see right here. Yeah, so that's my EXE right here. If we go into the source, and yeah, this is literally all the files. This is literally the exact code that I used when making this. Yeah, that's pretty cool. This guy actually used it on me. Okay, so now I'll actually explain how it converts this EXE binary into literal source code. So source code is the code that humans type. So C++, C#, Java, whatever. It's code that humans can understand and write. Now this source code is way too complicated for our computer to actually understand, because it can only understand ones and zeros, binary. So that's when a compiler is used. A compiler compiles the source code into binary. Like in Visual Studio, for example, when you build your project, it converts it into an EXE. So it takes your source code and converts it into binary. Now, there's actually something in between source code and binary, and that's called assembly. Assembly is its own language with its instructions and how it uses the CPU registers. Anyway, it's human readable, so we can understand what each instruction does, but it's a lot of really simple instructions that when you have like thousands of, can do more complicated processes. So yeah, it's like this middle ground in between binary and source code. Now, we can't just extract the source code from binary, but we can read the assembly of a binary. And there are many tools that can do this, like debuggers and decompilers, which takes any EXE and shows you its entire assembly code. But dnspy does a little more than that. Now, the only downside with dnspy is that it only works with EXEs that were compiled with C# or Visual Basic, which are languages that Microsoft developed. And the assembly of a C# compiled program is a lot more debuggable than normal assembly. So dnspy reads the C# assembly and can actually convert it into source code, because it's a lot simpler than normal assembly. So that's a basic explanation of how it works. Let me know if you're interested in like reverse engineering, debugging, decompiling, all this stuff, and if you'd like to learn more about it. Click the top link in the description right now to join my free private community. In there, you'll be able to interact with the community, ask any questions you have, and get help from me as well. See you there.